Hey everyone, so this is going to be part two, Flint True Channel here. This is going to be part two of the American Indian Freemasonry Exposed. Going to be going through some books, going to go through some of their own materials, going to go through, and I'm sorry it's taking me a little bit longer than I expected to get this out there. I've been busy lately, I do apologize. I've been trying to do daily uploads, but it is hard because I do work 60 hours a week, so I do apologize, and I thank you guys for your time and patience. It does mean a lot to me. Again, we're going to go through a lot of their materials. We're going to prove that these Indians were not only Masons, but they practice witchcraft. And I also want to show you guys how hard it is to get your hands on these books that actually prove what these people are involved in. These Masons, these occultists, all of these devils. Their materials, you either can't find the books, they're not available online. You have to go to like the Library of Congress to get the books. You know, it's ridiculous. Or you can buy the books at like some of them are upwards of $20,000. Okay, so it's absolutely crazy because they don't want the average public, the average Joe Blow, to be able to get his hands on this information and expose them. That's why the prices are so high. This book, we're gonna get started with the first book. The first thing we're gonna start. The first thing we are going to get started with, excuse me, it's early, is this book by Arthur Caswell Parker, who is a 32-degree American Indian Freemason, and he wrote this book. Again, this is an old book from 1919. It's an older book. It is available online. So if you're looking for it, you can find it online. American Indian Freemasonry by Arthur Parker C. And as you can see, he's got the 32-degree Freemason mark right by his name, along with the Freemason symbology right here with the double-headed eagle or phoenix, whichever you want to call it. You can go down here. I mean, just look at it with his little Rosicrucian marks and his little satanic symbology. The Buffalo Consistory. As you guys can see, the AASRNMJUSA 1919, presented to the University of Toronto Library by the Ontario Legislative Library. Okay, again, I told you this is a book from 1919. It may be a reprint, but as you can see, it's stamped down there from 1923. From the library, it says Legislative Library, received 1923, January 24th. So, again, the American Indian Freemasonry, as you can see, it's legit as it can get. Legit as it gets, excuse me. And again, up top, you guys see where it says 13/1/23. So, very, very old date, 1923, January 13th. Again, this is Arthur C. Parker. His nickname was Jawasowani. Jawasowani. So that's what they called his. That was his Indian name. Dedication. Again, dedication. Gawa Wei. Ho Duin Ja E. Who knows, right? Who knows what any of this crap is? Ho Skiwi Sa Anao, the three friends who have done most to lead me on this journey where I have received more light in Masonry, and whose brotherly love and affection have demonstrated to many wayfarer. And I apologize, guys, this is a small reading, and I'm reading it on my phone, so it's a little bit harder. Many a wayfarer, the potency of the Masonic tie. The account of the American Indian Freemasonry is dedicated by their friend Gawasowani, Arthur C. Parker. Again, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Genesis. Remove the ancient landmarks with which thy fathers have set. Solomon. Speculative Masonry is so far interwoven with religion as to lay us under the strongest obligations to pay that rational homage to the deity at which once constructs our duty and our happiness. It leads the contemplative to view the reservance, and I want to get down here a little bit more, excuse me. We also have a religion which was given to our forefathers and was handed down from our father to son. We worship in that way. It teaches us to be thankful for all the favors we receive, to love one another, and to be united. Red Jacket. And before I actually go any farther, let me show you this clip real quick. Give me 1 second. So right here it says, "Can Native Americans be Masons?" It played a very important role within the Indian Territory politics. Many key Indian political figures of the late 19th and early 20th century, all in, wow, it's early and I do apologize, guys. Many key Indian political figures of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, all being Masons in good standing. By 1848, there was a regular lodge of Cherokee Indians in Oklahoma, chartered by the Grand Lodge of Arkansas. So, absolutely, these Freemasons control all walks of life. We're talking American Indians. We're talking. It doesn't matter whether you're talking about Jehovah's Witness, whether you're talking about any of these, whether you're talking about American Indian, whether you're talking about African, it doesn't matter. Freemasonry controls it all. It's the one religion, because they all serve Satan at the top. It's the one religion that's connected in every culture. Every single culture on the whole planet is connected through Masonry. Now that should tell you something. Now let me continue with this book. Alright, getting back to where we were, by United Red Jacket. It is more than profitable than the diversified customs, institutions, and religions of the several nations of the world are less dissimilar in their origin than is often imagined. The difference arose in the progress of time, the shifting of scenes of climate, condition, and event. But the original ideas of existence and the laws of that pertain to all created things are pretty much the same amongst all the tribes of mankind. Westrop, ancient symbol worship. And then as you guys can see, it's going to say, to the Iroquois, beautiful thy meditations in thy consecrated forests, fragrant in the odor incense when, and again, it's witchcraft. That's what the people think that this American Indian culture, oh, it's just so beautiful, and they worship the Great Spirit, and that Christians and a lot of other people need to take advice from the Indians and take, because they got it figured out, and they love each other, and they don't ruin the environment, they take care of nature, and blah blah blah. An American Indian Freemason, here we go. American Indian Freemasonry by Arthur C. Parker, a 32nd degree Freemason. And I'm going to read a little bit of here, guys, and he's going to tell you guys how he was, how an Indian guide is going to lead them to a secret Masonic lodge in the woods on an Indian campsite. A tall, bronze-skinned guide led the way over an ice rutted road. The journey toward the mysterious east had been commenced. Following the guide in a single file were four and yet three. For one was the conductor, in whose presence the three were assured safety from danger, not of their own making. In all there were five, for such is the order of the journey. It is the land of the Senecas, the most powerful confederates of the famous Six Nations of the Iroquois. To this land in the valley of the Chattahoochee had journeyed the commander-in-chief of the Buffalo Consistory with three other members of the ancient accepted Scottish rite of Masonry. See? There you guys go. The time was midwinter in the moon of blank, which I don't, Niskowuskni. And again, guys, this is early in the morning. It's kind of bright on my phone because I'm trying to read this, and the letters are small, so I do apologize. Kind of having a little bit of trouble seeing here. During the season of gratitude, the Great Spirit, the various fraternities and ceremonial associations hold sessions, and a few of them give public exhibitions. Not so, however, with one whose work is all in secret, and into whose chamber only those purified and loyal are admitted. The guide led on, and four followed. three being candidates for initiation. The glimmering light held by the guide cast an uncertain ray upon the trail that penetrated the moonless winter night. It was not an easy path, nor was there sound footing on the trail that had which was sought. At length the lodge was reached. Behind drawn curtains there were faint gleams of light. 4 sharp knocks were given. See, it's all the same, guys. 4 sharp knocks were given at the door. And the door opened in a crack while a sentinel stepped out to examine those who craved admission. A curious passerby might have seen by a hurried glance that the form of the lodge was an oblong, that there were 2 altars, upon one of which was placed a tray on incense and a heap of strange paraphernalia. But the door soon closed, and hours afterwards the sounds of the pentecolar chant, the blend of the wild forest sounds mingled with a strange rushing noise, like that of a great cataract, floated out on the walls of the lodge house. What was happening within? And if you guys look right here, it's a close-up. It says, diagram showing the form of the lodge of the ancient guards of the mystic potentates. And again, it'll show you like the outer room for visitors, men, fireplace, seat of invoker, screen, feast in kettles, a song holder, a flute, a guard, a table, a men's seat, and then a members door where they would walk the members that are going to be brought into the witchcraft, you know. So is there an undiscovered masonry when the traveler or the enthusiast returns from his journey to one of the world's out of the way places and comes again into the society of his friends and brothers, he finds that there are certain subjects that are of the perennial interest, and that the men are curious to know what he has learned of them. Not the least among these subjects is Freemasonry. It is not the Freemasons alone who is curious of Freemasonry. Even man who enjoys the society of his fellow men, and who sees the symbols that are found in the world about him, moral lessons admonish him to virtue, sees also in all cosmos and the potentiality of Masonry. Thus the student who has penetrated the strange lands and the places of the earth is called upon to tell what other races and people know of the mystic orders that bind men to mortality and brotherly devotion. In America we are asked what the native red man has of Masonry, and if he has its signs, grips, and words like those of the ancient craft. Oftentimes the question comes direct: are American Indians Masons? Rumors have long been afloat that there are tribes that have Masonic lodges, and that Masons traveling amongst them have been greeted by familiar signs and words, and even led into lodges where ceremonies were conducted in due form. It is then true that in some way our ancient brethren have traveled in unknown parts and among sacredly known people, and have communicated the rituals that we hold must be inviolate, or that they have issued dispensations to these veiled lodges by which may work under the competent jurisdiction. How much of Masonry do these extra-limital Masons know, and how well do they keep and conceal the profane, their secret arts? All right. If perchance they did not receive their Masonry from moderns, where in the annals of antiquity did they discover it? Such are questions that are directed to the traveler who has observed the customs of the outer people of the world. And asking such questions, see, and this is the thing, people don't understand, you know. People don't understand that no matter what, you know, they're going in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods, you know. It doesn't matter if you're going to Cambodia, you know. It doesn't matter if you're going to Saigon. It doesn't matter if you're going to Vietnam. It doesn't matter where you're going, okay? There's always going to be a Masonic lodge. There's always going to be Masons there. It's just like the old stories they used to tell of people back in the Revolutionary War and World War I and World War II and Vietnam, of 2 Masonic ship captains, or, you know, whatever, that they were about to go into battle against each other, but the one Mason would do a sign to the other Mason, to the other, and then they would know that they're Masons and they wouldn't fight each other. They would let the ship get away and they wouldn't fire at it. They wouldn't shoot at it. There's all kinds of stories like that where Freemasons, you know, work together. Doesn't matter what side they're on, and they won't kill, even if it's their enemy, because they are brothers. So let us reflect a little. What is Freemasonry? Let's ask ourselves what Masonry is. And okay, again, you guys can read that if you want. I know what Freemasonry is. I don't have to read what he says Freemasonry is. What is the natural Masonry of the Red Man? Whether our American Indians in their native life are capable of becoming Masons must be determined by an examination of their beliefs. Whether they have a form of inherent or natural Masonry must be determined by an examination of their fraternities and secret organizations. We must also make this examination if we are to discover whether or not they have accepted Masonry, which we know they have, because, like I said, we just shown that I showed in the clip a minute ago that it just said all major, well-known top-ranking Indians were Masons, and that's exactly true. And that's why they talk about this chief or that chief or whoever. It's because they were Sitting Bull or whoever. It's because they're part of the club. The last proposition we may dismiss, for what means had the red man of knowing of the special rights of an order that up to 1717 was in a state of crystallization. See, and that's the thing, people don't realize these Indians, they had all this knowledge, and they've had all these secret Mason occult knowledge for years, hundreds and hundreds of years before so-called, Christopher Columbus came here. Okay, the whole story of Christopher Columbus, it's all a lie. It's a lie. So again, it's just got a bunch more stuff in here. Again, I'm going slow, so if you guys want to read it, you can pause it and read it. Brotherhood. If there is one belief above another that affects the conduct of the Indian, the conduct of the Indian, it is his belief in the universal kinship of all created things. Man was not only the brother of man because of a supreme father had created both, but every animal, plant, and rock, as well as every force of nature, was believed to sustain a certain relation to man. The deer and the bear were brothers and very near man. The trees had spirits, and so did the cliffs and the waterfalls. Thus the red man thought it was quite rational to speak to them as friends and brothers. No animal was killed in a wanton way, and every animal slain for the meat or the pelt was appropriated by a chant asking its pardon for the deed, since it had seemed a necessity for the hunter to have meat and the skin of the brother. Then a little sacrifice was given, incense was burned, and the gift of the spirit was of the slain animal buried beneath the ashes of the fire. To the red man, the creatures of the earth were kinsmen, but in a different form. And again, I'm going to go down here a little bit, and I'm going to show you a little picture of what he's talking about there. I don't know if I'll be able to spin this here. Let me see if I can zoom up a little bit. It says, The Lodge of the Eagle Society, from a drawing by Jesse Cornplanter, a Seneca artist. So this is from a fellow Mason himself, showing you the Masonic Lodge, the Lodge of the Eagle Society right there. And I don't think, again, I'm going to be able to turn it. Maybe I can. Hopefully you guys can see that right there. You probably can't, and I do apologize. Only because they are ancient and were supposed to be of magical value. There were many lost words, and in some instances certain portions of the rituals were not intelligible because nearly every word was a portion of the lost ritualistic language. There can be no doubt that a certain Indian societies had secret words that their members might use in conversation or as signals. The possession of the ritualistic words that belong exclusively to the cult or fraternity was jealously guarded. With the Indians' words had a significance entirely apart from their meaning. Words were things, names were things. So deeply was this doctrine included that a man's very name could be taken from him by the proper authorities. He could likewise be forbidden to utter certain words because words and names were property and might be used or shared only by those justly entitled to receive the same. The masonry of the Indians as builders and philosophers dealing with the moral truths grew out of their experiences with nature and with the actions with humankind. The wise men of the tribes knew that a band of men pledged to uphold morality and and to intact rituals showing its advantage would constitute a dynamic influence. Was the red man a craftsman and builder? So again, you guys can, not strange to relate, perhaps it is the fact that these two areas where building and craftsmanship was so highly specialized, numerous fraternities existed. In other regions, especially in the areas of the Great Plains, the dwellings were more simple. So again, you guys can pause this. I'll try to scroll down it. And it says, what is the red man's religious life? We already know, again, these people, unfortunately, are devils. And they are Satanists, and they are certainly nobody to look up to. Again, right here, it says the sentimental of society, of the Society of the False Faces. The False Face Company is one of the most spectacular of the Iroquois. Again, you guys have seen the totem poles, I'm sure, along with the occultic faces that they wear and the outfits that they wear. Red Hand, the brothered friend. The candidates were told to listen. The legend of the ancient guards was told. The complete relation would make a lengthy document. Though I am sure that you would find it a marvelous tale. Red Hand was a young chief whose life was blameless, for he was blank. He had received certain mysterious knowledge that made the covetous envy him. But so brave and kind was Red Hand that he was admired and loved by men and warriors. Red Hand had a place where he spoke to the Great Mystery, and the Great Mystery spoke to him. He was kind to every brother of earth, every tree, every rock, every animal. He fed the hungry birds in the wintertime. When the wolves were hungry, he gave them meat, and when the deer were hungry, he gave them grass and moss. And again, you guys can finish that. Here, the Animal Council, reigning to life, the founder of the Little Water Society. That's their Masonic right there, their little Masonic wood ritual where they're, they believe that the animal and that the is the same as men. Again, some former forms of ceremonial and decorative brochures of silver used by the Seneca Indians. Again, you get the square and compass. Okay, understand that these people were not primitive savages that had no idea what was going on. They didn't know what they were doing. These people knew exactly what they were doing. Egyptian diagram of the raising of Osiris. Again, this is all in Indian lodges. Little has been told, the door has only been held ajar at the slightest space, and no secrets have been revealed. There were feather wands and deer skins, but no purple robes or crowns. Yet, who shall the Senecas have not the thread of the legend of Osiris, or they have not an inherent Freemasonry? So these people have the legends of Osiris, they have the legends of Freemasonry, and this guy was basically asking how. How did they get all this? How did they get all this knowledge? The three initiates of the ancient guards of the mystic opponents: George L. Tucker, George K. Staples, Everett R. Barmster. So again, a practical postscript. You guys can read this if you want to pause it. Like I said, I've showed you guys mainly the important parts. So I believe that's the end of the book. And I'm going to end this part here because there's quite a bit more information that I have to go through. So we're going to not make this too long, so we're going to end this one and then start another one.